I think just knowing that it was coming to an end, knowing that you love your mom so much, and knowing that she's not going to be there, knowing that she will never see me have kids, because ALS is not a forgiving disease. My mom was diagnosed in January of 2010, so that was kind of the turning point where you started learning a lot about ALS.
For the majority of people with ALS, they have symptoms that begin with the arms and the legs and the torso, so the trunk of their body. And that's probably 80 to 90% of people who do end up with ALS. The other 10 to 20% of people with ALS have symptoms that start with their head and neck muscles, so the muscles for talking and swallowing.
She was one that pretty early on her speech was affected. My mom had been a school teacher for 31 years, and so I mean she was a very verbal person. And looking back, I didn't really remember when her voice had started to go.
You think of a mouse and you compare it with a person and you say, how on earth could they be similar? But mammals are mammals. There are so many things that are common across mammals, across various species of mammals. So mice, yes, they are in many cases like little people. And ALS in mice is very similar to ALS in people, but it's not the same. It's not identical. And so in research, you need to be able to recognize what are the differences between species that could probably not hinder your research, but make it perhaps less translatable if you're not aware of those up front.
You would go to doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment hoping for some answer, but with ALS there are very few living at any given time because it affects so quickly, and so there's not the research, there's not things out there to help give you the hope.
As a science, we are so far from really understanding what ALS is.
My mom passed away December the 22nd of 2012. So it was a little less than 3 years after she was officially diagnosed with the disease.
It's exciting that I could think that we could really, in the next year, test people with what we're finding from the lab. We've identified that certain things that we can do with mice to stimulate swallowing, we think we can do the same thing in people. So we're doing tests now to see what are the parameters that we would want to try in people based on how the mice are doing. And so it's leading us to hopefully a very simple electrophysiological treatment to do with people with ALS that we hadn't considered in the past. So that's exciting.